Do you see, can you get a glimpse of the weather around me right now? I'm out on my deck yet again, and as you can see, it's nothing but bright sunshine. I mean, it is bright sunshine. It's not cloudless. We've got clouds in the sky, but right now it's nice and sunny and warm, but it's kind of deceptive. I got up this morning about 4, and I went to work. So I have to be out in the elements to some degree. And I was going into one of my stores, you know, taking my cake for sale. And while I was inside a Walmart, around, I guess, 5:30 or so, I mean, no, probably about 6:30, there was just I heard it outside. It was thundering and lightning and just a deluge. It sounded like a monsoon outside. Because here in the Southeast, we're on the cusp of a big weather event. If you're in the States watching me, you probably already know about this. There's a hurricane brewing in the Gulf. Hurricane Helene, I believe they've given the name to this one. Now, I'm north of Birmingham, Alabama, and I think that we're supposed to dodge the brunt of the effects of the storm. Of course, I don't know where the storm is projected to make landfall. I have heard this morning, I haven't watched the weather here all day, actually. I just got home a little bit ago, but I've heard that the storm is going to hit the panhandle of Florida. I don't know exactly where. I don't know if the meteorologists know exactly where, but I have got to remember to bring my stick home. I'm holding my phone with my hand, so I'm sorry if it's a little jittery. I hope it's stable enough. But anyway, I don't know exactly where Helene is going to hit. However, I have heard that it's a fairly powerful hurricane. This is all hearsay. I don't have the facts right now. But I had one person who had evidently been watching the news saying that it was projected to hit the panhandle in Florida as a Category 4. That's pretty stout. I think Katrina was a 4 when she hit New Orleans several years ago. So this is a big storm, and the last that I saw was the projected path of the storm was to go basically to the east of Alabama. We're going to get some of the effects of it here in the Birmingham, Metro Birmingham area. But what I found bizarre about this was this morning on the radio, I actually heard somebody say that Helene was projected to have to be a Category 1 hurricane as far north, if you can believe this, as Atlanta. That's bizarre to me. Atlanta is well inland, at least 300 miles north of the Gulf. You know, I'm from Metro Atlanta. I was raised in Marietta, which is a suburb of Atlanta, so I'm from there. All of my family is still in that area. All of my kids live in Metro Atlanta. And so, hey kids, if you're watching, hatten down the batches or come see Daddy-O in Alabama. I think we're going to get a lot of rain and some heavy, strong winds. We need the rain, so that's a relief. But I went out today and I purchased some rain gear and a couple of tarps to cover my product. So in the morning, I'll be dodging rainfall for the next 2 mornings. I think it's supposed to be cleared out of our area by Saturday. Today is Wednesday. It is about 1:40 in the afternoon. It's a little breezy, but it's really nice and sunny. But I think that this is all about to change. According to our local meteorologist, tomorrow it's supposed to be, well, for the next 2 days anyway, it's supposed to be really rainy and windy here in the area, depending on the path that Helene decides to take. But I think the brunt of the storm is going to be our east. I think Georgia is going to get licked pretty good by this storm. So if you're watching me in my home state of Georgia, take cover. Don't play around with this stuff, because these things can do a lot of damage, knock out power, knock down limbs and whatnot. I wouldn't want to be on the coast right now. I'm sure that the wise people on the coast are headed inland. Hurricanes are nothing to play with. There's an old joke that Ron White used to tell, the comedian Ron White. He was talking about these people that, these lunatics that are on the beach during a hurricane, and they're saying, man, this thing is 125 miles an hour. It's a Category 3, Category 4. And you'll have one guy out there say, I don't care, I can take it. And I'm not afraid of high winds. And Ron White pointed out, it's not that the wind is blowing, it's what the wind is blowing. If you get hit by a Volvo, a flying Volvo, it doesn't matter how many push-ups you did that morning. And he's right about he's right about that. So don't play around with bad weather, folks. That's not what you want to do. I'm just kind of spitballing here. That's kind of what I'm going to be doing on my channel. Whatever is on my mind in the news, or, you know, it's just going to be basically stream of conscious stuff. I may as well mention, I didn't have a video up, but so I just want to wish a belated birthday to Marina. Marina's still in Missouri, and Marina's birthday was the 13th of September. So, honey, happy belated birthday and many years to you. And so if you want to wish Marina a happy birthday, you can do so down below. And I got another birthday coming up here in a couple of days I'll mention then. I came across this in the news, and I wanted to mention it. I have been to, I believe, one national park in the United States in my life. There's, I want to say 64 national parks. I'm talking about the big ones, Yellowstone, Yosemite, the Grand Canyon, all that, Badlands and what have you. But the national park that is closest to me is the Great Smoky Mountains in Tennessee and North Carolina. When I was a kid, and my parents would take us on vacation, we'd usually either go to the beach, Panama City Beach in Florida, or we'd go to like Gatlinburg or Pigeon Forge and go through the Smoky Mountains. Beautiful area of the country. If you've never been, it's really well worth visiting. It is the most visited national park in the United States, particularly in autumn when the leaves are changing. It is just breathtaking, and it's very crowded, but it's worth a trip. There's a place in the Great Smoky Mountains that I have actually, it occurred to me the other day, as many times as I've been there, and I've been there many, many times, but there's a place in the Smoky Mountains that I've actually never visited, and I intend to visit it. It is actually the highest point in the Smoky Mountains. And up till about, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks ago or a month ago, that was called Clingman's Dome. Clingman's Dome. It's the highest vista in the Smoky Mountains, and it clocks in at 6,643 feet. Now, that's not the Rocky Mountain kind of an altitude, but it's pretty far up there, over 6,600 feet. And Clingman's Dome was named Clingman's Dome after a man by the name of Thomas Clingman. I didn't know all this. I did a little research, and I was looking this up. Thomas Clingman was a geographer, and he was an explorer, and he was something else I'll get to here in just a moment. But there was an effort undertaken in the year 2022 by representatives from the Cherokee Indian Nation to rename Clingman's Dome, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing this correctly, Kuwohi, that is spelled K-U-W-O-H-I, that is a Cherokee word that means mulberry place. And that's what the Cherokee Indians historically referred to Clingman's Dome as Kuwohi. And so they began to petition the federal government to rename Clingman's Dome Kuwohi. And that petition has been granted just recently, within a month. And now Clingman's Dome's official nomenclature has been changed to Kuohi. I am really weary of all of these changes in terms of pulling down of statues, changing names of schools and historical places because they are deemed to be politically incorrect or what have you. The thing I didn't tell you about Thomas Klingman was this. He was a geographer. He was an explorer. He explored this particular area of the Smoky Mountains. But this little tidbit I found out about him when I researched this may or may not have something to do with the changing of the name, because Thomas Klingman was also a Confederate general. That's right. So apparently Thomas Klingman, as far as I can tell, is getting the old Robert E. Lee treatment, or the Thomas Jefferson treatment, or what have you. I was watching this video. You watch these reels over on Facebook. So many people are pulling so many gags, but this particular guy was going around the area of the Washington Monument, and he had a clipboard with a piece of paper, and he was just going up to random people, and he was saying, this is a petition to rename the Washington Monument after George. It's named after George Washington, and we want to rename the Washington Monument for George Floyd. I sat there watching it. At first I chuckled because it was a joke, of course, but you would not believe how many people signed that petition that sought to, and it was all a gag, of course, but the petition was calling for the renaming of the George Washington Monument to the George Floyd Monument. It is astounding to me the number of people that said, yeah, I'll sign that. Are you kidding me? And so here we go again. You know how they've been tearing down statues of early American founders such as Washington and Jefferson and Madison, and the list goes on and on. And of course, some of the men who served in the Confederacy, Lee and Jefferson. And over in Stone Mountain, Georgia, there's a big rock just east of Atlanta called Stone Mountain, and there's a carving on the side of the mountain which features Robert E. Lee and General Stonewall Jackson and one other general whose name escapes me. I'm ashamed of myself. I should know this. It's Robert E. Lee, Stonewall Jackson, and one other. It might be Jefferson Davis, who was the president of the Confederacy. I'm not going to get into the Civil War. I think I've talked about it in the past. I'll simply say slavery was a part of the issue at hand, but it was also a battle over states' rights, and the South had some legitimate points to be made, and the North fired the first shot, I would remind you. But anyway, let's not get sidetracked there. But I am really opposed to this tearing down of our heritage and the tearing down of statues and monuments and all of these markers. Somebody was making the point the other day, you know, you want to go tear down a statue of Robert E. Lee, for example. Well, if it's so offensive, wouldn't it have been more offensive in the weeks and months and years right after the Civil War? Wouldn't it have been even more offensive then? And here we are, what, 150 years at least removed from the Civil War, and all of a sudden a whole lot of people are getting offended by Robert E. Lee and Jefferson Davis and Thomas Jefferson or George Washington or whoever. And I'm thinking, you know, why do this to Thomas Klingman? I don't know much about Thomas Klingman other than that he is what I said he was, a geographer, an explorer, and a Confederate general. And that I'm confident is probably what got his name taken down from this landmark, formerly known as Klingman's Dome, and now they're changing all the signs. Another one, remember Fort Bragg, North Carolina? They've changed it to Fort Liberty. because General Bragg was a Confederate general. It just goes on and on. It's just so silly and so expensive when you consider changing all of the signage and all of the things that are associated with the names that are already in place. Would it not be at least more fiscally sane to just leave things as they are? So I'm just going to tell you that for me, Clingman's Dome is always going to be Clingman's Dome. I'm sorry. I'm not going to refer to it as Kuohi or however you say it, Mulberry Place. It's always been Clingman's Dome, and as far as I'm concerned, it always will be Clingman's Dome. So take that for whatever it's worth. Did you all see I haven't talked about this yet. Did you happen to see the so-called debate? These things are never debates. This debate between Trump and Kamala Harris. I watched it, and it was so silly. I think that I don't think Trump did that well in the debate. I think he did well enough, but I think that he could have just really hammered Harris on the current state of affairs in the United States. I think that all he really needed to do in that debate was just keep talking about inflation, war, all these, and the border, and all these winning issues. Trump, I think that Harris's whole modus operandi in that debate was to get him sidetracked, to get him flustered, and get him upset, and I believe she succeeded in that end. I think Trump should have just stayed on track and just kept hammering her about the current state of inflation, interest rates, the border, all these things, because these are winning issues with people as far as I'm concerned. I think he did. I don't think he hurt himself. I don't think there's going to be another debate. But did you happen to notice, of course, this thing was rigged. It was 3-on-1. It was the moderators who hated Trump and Harris, so it was 3-on-1, basically. They would never follow up with Harris on their questions. Whatever they would throw her these softballs. But this was the standard answer of Harris anytime that she had any kind of challenging question. She would say this. For example, Vice President Harris, what do you have to say about the soaring inflation and the high interest rates in America? And she would respond by saying this, I was born into a middle-class family. Did any of you catch that? This has almost become a comedic device anymore these days. People are saying, anytime you're asking anybody a question, I was born into a middle-class family. She never answered the question. Kiki, say hello to everybody. There she is. You camera shy, darling? It's just me and Kiki holding down the fort. I was born into a middle-class family, so I told Marina, I said, from now on, if you ask me, honey, did you take out the trash or did you get the grass cut? My standard answer is going to be, darling, I was born into a middle-class family. This is just such a classic politician's response. This is how they avoid answering a question. They say something completely unrelated to the question. What do you think about these high interest rates? Well, I was born into a middle-class family. Well, I'm not asking you what you were born into or your economic status. I'm asking you a specific question, which she will not answer because she can't answer it because it would expose her and she knows it. This woman is a lightweight. She is not qualified to serve as president, and God help us if she gets in there, and I hope that she does not. Just a little tip for you before I go. Most of you probably already know this. We ditched our cable. We don't have cable. We don't even own a television, if you want to know the truth. I just got rid of them. I gave my TV to my son. He said, you really want to do that? I said, well, I never watch it. Marina and I think we use... is it Fubo? We have these apps on our computers, our laptops, and that's what we use for watching shows. Marina will watch her her series on, we have Amazon, oh, that's what it is, Amazon Prime, movies and series and things of that nature. And it's great because if I want to watch a football game, she doesn't care anything about sports. So I can dial in a football game or a baseball game and put in my earplugs, and she can watch her show or whatever, and it works out great that way. But I was going to tell you, most of you may already know this, YouTube has its own movie channel, whether you knew that or not. You can go to YouTube Movies, and they don't have the greatest selection, I don't believe, pardon me. Some of them are to purchase, some of them are to rent, but some of them are free. Some of them are free with ads. But if you're looking for a good movie to watch, you can go to YouTube and see what their offerings are, and you might find something worth watching. And I just noticed the other day when I was looking at this, there is a great movie that's current, as of today, it's still on there. If you've not seen it, there's a movie there that is really worth watching, and it's free. So here's my movie tip of the day for you, my friends. If you've not seen the movie There Will Be Blood, starring Daniel Day-Lewis and Paul Dano, big thumbs up on this film. I really recommend it. It's a film about the early days of an oil man, and I highly recommend this movie. It's intense. It's extremely well acted. Daniel Day-Lewis is about as great an actor as there ever was that I've ever seen. He is absolutely phenomenal in this film, as is Paul Dano. So if you've not seen There Will Be Blood, you might want to check that out. So, hey, that's what's going on. Thanks for joining me. Get your raincoat out. If you're in the path of Helene, everybody take care. I'll see you soon.